I've always loved traveling. From the moment I land, seeing the words on the signs in different languages, smelling the subtle scent of exotic food, and being surrounded by people and atmosphere that feels so foreign would get me excited. I would try my best to learn about different culture, try the local food, interact with the locals and make new friends, see as much as I can and experience as much as I can. And sometimes I would barely sleep because I didn't want to waste time and would rather use that sleeping time to experience something new. Every trip I made had a big impact on me, and I would feel and learn so many things. At the end of each trip, I would buy a postcard and write how I felt on this trip and send it to my address in Korea. It usually arrives a few weeks later when the excitement from the trip slowly fades and it becomes a good reminder of what the trip meant to me and the thoughts that I had. It was like my little thing to treasure the memories of each trip, and I'm a little sad that I didn't do it in my recent trips, but I will definitely make some time to do it next time. My parents also had a big influence on why I love to travel. They would always encourage me to go and see the world. Even when I was just a student and I was supporting myself with part-time jobs, they always gave me thumbs up whenever I said I want to go somewhere with the little money I saved from these part-time jobs. They used to say you need to have a broad experience to have a broad perspective on life, and that's why my parents tried so hard to give us the opportunity to study abroad when I was young. And those few years really had a big influence on the way I think and see the world. I guess the best part of traveling was always seeing and experiencing the different culture. It would amaze me how different people can be when we're all the same human beings living in the same world. And I also found it fascinating to see some similarities across different cultures when we're thousands of miles away. I always have respect for a country's own culture, even though at times I may not agree with it, nor feel comfortable about it. I think it's important to embrace the differences unless it's a bad custom that severely violates human rights and actually endangers people. But I realize not everyone feels the same. I see a lot of people questioning, complaining, and criticizing different culture instead of trying to understand them. They call it wrong when it's something that they're not used to, and try to silence people who are trying to explain that it's their culture. Yes, you may have a different opinion because not everyone can agree on the same things, but it doesn't give you the right to call something wrong and devalue the history that is behind every culture. To be honest, I've been wrong in the past to think that some cultures were wrong, but I realized those thoughts were coming from arrogance and a narrow perspective. We actually do this so often in our daily lives. The usual arguments online between expats and locals, the racism, the xenophobia, the I hate this country or people videos and comments. I remember having big arguments with a friend who wasn't Korean, who always looked down on my culture, saying things like, Koreans are primitive for sitting and eating on the floor. And another Korean friend who always put Korean culture above others. They were both wrong. No culture is wrong, nor superior, but it's just different. And the only thing that is wrong is the people who consider other cultures wrong. I'm not saying every action can be defended and justified under the name of culture, because a lot of times it's not culture, but just the bad behavior of an individual. But when it's a widespread culture and custom that has been developed over years of history, we do need to at least try to understand it. I know it's not easy, but when you visit or live in a different country, or encounter someone from a different country who has a different cultural background to yours, try to understand the differences instead of trying to see what's wrong about it. You might be surprised how much you can learn from it and how it can have an impact on your life and decisions. That's why I love traveling and learning about new culture. It helps me correct the misperceptions that I had and really think outside the box, which usually leads to something good and progressive. I really hope when the pandemic finally ends, we can all go to different places to experience new culture and learn about it. I hope we can all move towards a direction where everyone respects and understands each other of their differences. Thank you for listening to my first Bedtalk of 2022. I hope you all have a good night.